The alarm bells rang through the Earth Defense Command Center. Commander Jake Morrison ran down the long hallway, his boots making loud sounds on the metal floor. He had been sleeping when the call came in. Now he was fully awake and worried. "What do we have?" Jake asked as he entered the main control room. The big screens showed stars and empty space. Nothing looked dangerous. Lieutenant Amy Carter turned from her computer station. Her face was pale and her hands shook a little. "Sir, we got a message from deep space. It's from aliens. They want to meet us." Jake stopped walking. In his 20 years of military service, he had never heard those words. Earth had been searching for alien life for centuries, but they had never found any. Now the aliens had found them first. "Are you sure it's real?" Jake asked. "Could it be a fake message?" Amy shook her head. "I checked it 5 times. The signal came from outside our solar system. The technology is way beyond anything we have. This is real, sir." Captain Lisa Park walked over to them. She was the head of the science team. Her eyes were bright with excitement. "Jake, this could be the most important day in human history. We might learn things that could help our whole planet." Jake looked at the message on the screen. The words were in perfect English, which worried him. How did aliens learn human language so well? The message was polite and friendly. It said the aliens wanted to share knowledge and become friends with Earth. "They call themselves the Zephyrian Empire," Amy said. "They say they have been watching us for a long time. They think we are ready to join the galactic community." The message gave details about a meeting place. It was in empty space, far from both Earth and the alien homeworld. The alien said this was to make both sides feel safe. They wanted to meet on their ship, which they called the Sovereign's Edge. "How long do we have to decide?" Jake asked. "They want an answer in 2 days," Amy replied. "They say the meeting should happen in 1 week." Jake felt his stomach twist. This was too fast. Good things in space usually took months or years to plan, but the aliens wanted everything to happen quickly. This made him think something was wrong. "What do we know about these Zephyrians?" Jake asked. Dr. Paul Henderson stepped forward. He was the smartest person Jake knew. Paul had been studying space signals for many years. "I've been looking at their message very carefully. The technology is incredible. They can send signals across the galaxy instantly. Their ships must be huge and very advanced." "But," Jake could hear doubt in Paul's voice. "But I found something strange," Paul continued. "I checked our old records. We've been getting weak signals from space for months. Very weak, so weak that our computers almost missed them. When I looked closer, I found patterns." Paul put a new image on the screen. It showed lines and dots that looked like a code. "These signals were not sent to us. They were sent between alien ships. I think we accidentally heard their private messages." Amy moved closer to the screen. "What do the messages say?" "That's the problem," Paul said. "Most of the message is in code, but some parts are clear. They mention other planets and other species, and Jake, none of those species exist anymore." The room became very quiet. Jake felt cold. "What do you mean they don't exist anymore?" "I mean they're gone," Paul said slowly. "Dead, destroyed. The aliens talk about them like they're things in a museum." Lisa Park stepped between them. "Wait, let's not jump to conclusions. Maybe those species joined the aliens. Maybe they're living on other planets now." Paul shook his head. "The messages use words like collected and preserved. They don't talk about living beings. They talk about specimens." Jake felt his heart beat faster. He had been a soldier for most of his life. He knew what it meant when enemies talked about collecting specimens. "How many species are we talking about?" "At least 12, Paul answered. "Maybe more. The aliens have been doing this for a very long time." Amy's hands were shaking now. "Sir, what if this isn't a friendly meeting? What if they want to collect us too?" Jake looked around the room. Everyone was scared, but they were also curious. Humans had always wanted to meet aliens. This might be their only chance. "We need more information," Jake said. "Paul, keep working on those messages. I want to know everything about these aliens before we make any decisions." "Yes, sir," Paul said. He went back to his computer and started typing quickly. Jake turned to Lisa. What's your opinion? Should we go? Lisa was quiet for a long moment. If we don't go, we might never get another chance. These aliens have technology that could solve all our problems. Clean energy, space travel, medicine. We could help millions of people. Or we could walk into a trap, Jake said. Maybe, Lisa agreed, but what if we're wrong? What if they really do want to help us? Can we take the risk of saying no? Jake understood her point, but he also understood the danger. If Paul was right, these aliens were collectors. They found new species and took them. The question was why. Amy, I want you to put together a team, Jake said. Small group, our best people. If we go, we need to be ready for anything. Amy nodded. Who do you want on the team? Jake thought carefully. Ben Collins from engineering. Kate Sullivan from communications. Ryan Torres from security, Dr. Henderson. You and me, Captain Park, if she wants to come. I'm coming, Lisa said immediately. Good, but we're not going to play this their way, Jake continued. We're going to be ready for trouble. Ryan, I want weapons. Hidden weapons, things they won't expect. Ryan Torres had been quiet until now. He was a big man with scars on his hands. What kind of weapons, sir? Simple ones, Jake said. Knives. Small explosives, anything that doesn't need power or computers. If their technology is as advanced as we think, they might be able to stop our guns. But they probably won't expect old-fashioned weapons. I understand, Ryan said. Jake looked at each person in the room. Everyone listen carefully. We're probably walking into danger. These aliens might want to hurt us. But we're also representing all of humanity. We need to be smart, careful, and ready to fight if necessary. What about Earth? Amy asked. Should we tell people what's happening? Jake thought about this. If people knew about the aliens, there would be panic. But if the team never came, Earth needed to know what happened. We'll tell the government, Jake decided, but not the public. Not yet. If this goes wrong, someone needs to know what these aliens are really like. Over the next 2 days, the team prepared for the mission. They studied the alien message over and over. They practiced fighting in small spaces. They learned how to hide weapons and tools inside normal objects. Ben Collins worked on their ship, the Aurora. It was small, but fast. He added hidden armor and secret compartments. He also installed a special communication system that could send messages even if the main system was broken. Kate Sullivan studied the alien language. She found that the aliens used very formal, polite words. This might mean they were very advanced, or it might mean they were trying to hide something. Paul Henderson made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden in the alien signals, he found a list. It was a list of species the aliens had collected over the years. At the bottom of the list, in fresh text, was a single word, humans. When Jake saw this, he knew they were walking into a trap. But he also knew they had to go. If they didn't, the aliens would come to Earth instead. At least this way, they had a chance to learn about their enemy. On the morning of their departure, Jake stood in front of his team. Remember, we're not just diplomats, we're scouts. We're going to learn everything we can about these aliens. And if they try to hurt us, we're going to hurt them back. The team nodded. They were scared, but they were ready. They climbed into the Aurora and headed for deep space, not knowing they were about to become part of the most dangerous game in the galaxy. The Sovereign's Edge was the biggest ship Jake Morrison had ever seen. It was at least 10 miles long and 3 miles wide. The metal surface was smooth and silver with no windows or marks anywhere. Strange lights moved under the surface like living things. The Aurora looked like a tiny bug next to it. My God, whispered Lisa Park. How did they build something so huge? Kate Sullivan checked her instruments. I'm reading massive energy signatures. This ship has more power than our entire planet uses in a year. Jake felt his stomach drop. If the aliens wanted to fight, humans would lose badly. Their only hope was to be smart and careful. Remember the plan, Jake said quietly. We act friendly and interested. We learn everything we can, and we stay together. A bright light surrounded the aurora. Jake felt his body become light, like he was floating. When the light faded, their ship was inside a huge docking bay. The ceiling was so high that Jake could barely see it. Hundreds of other ships filled the space, all from different worlds. "Look at those ships," Ben Collins said, pointing through the window. "They're all different designs. The aliens have been collecting a lot of species." Amy Carter studied the ships with her scanner. "Most of these ships are empty, no life signs, it's like they're just displayed here." This worried Jake. Where were the crews of all these ships? He had a bad feeling about the answer. A door opened. In the side of the docking bay, 3 figures walked toward them. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. They wore long robes that seemed to move by themselves. When they walked, their feet made no sound. "Welcome, humans," the leader said. His voice was soft, but somehow reached every corner of the docking bay. "I am High Strategist Vexthal of the Zephyrian Empire. We are honored by your visit." Jake and his team stepped out of the aurora. The air in the docking bay was cold and smelled like metal and ozone. Jake noticed that the floor was made of some kind of crystal that showed his reflection. "Thank you for inviting us," Jake said. "We're excited to learn about your people." Vexthal smiled, but it didn't look right. His mouth moved, but his eyes stayed cold. "And we are eager to learn about yours. Please follow me. We have prepared a special welcome for you." They walked through long corridors filled with strange decorations. The walls showed moving pictures of different planets and alien creatures. Some of the creatures looked scared. Others looked angry. None of them looked happy. "These are some of the species we have encountered," Vexthal explained. "Each one has taught us something valuable about life in the galaxy." Amy pointed to one of the pictures. It showed small, furry creatures with big eyes. "What happened to them?" "They are safe," Vexthal said, but he didn't explain where they were safe. The corridor opened into an enormous room filled with tables and chairs. The ceiling was transparent, showing the stars outside. In the center of the room was a long table covered with strange foods and drinks. "This is our dining hall," Vexthal said. "We thought you might be hungry after your journey." More aliens entered the room. They all looked similar to Vexthal, but smaller. They watched the humans with curious eyes, like scientists studying interesting animals. "Please sit," Vexthal said. "We have prepared foods that should be safe for your biology." Jake and his team sat at one end of the long table. The aliens sat at the other end, leaving a large space between them. This felt wrong to Jake. In real diplomatic meetings, people sat closer together. "Tell us about your planet," Vexthal said. "We are very interested in human culture," Lisa Park spoke first. "Earth is beautiful. We have oceans, forests, and mountains. Billions of people live there." "Billions?" Another alien asked. "So many. How do you control them all?" The question surprised Jake. "We don't control them. People are free to live their own lives." The aliens looked at each other. They seemed confused by this answer. "But surely you have leaders," Vexthal said. "Someone must make decisions for your species." "We have governments," Jake explained. "But they serve the people, not the other way around." Again, the aliens looked confused. Jake began to understand that these aliens thought very differently from humans. "What about your technology?" Vexthal asked. "We have seen your ships. They are primitive." Ben Collins spoke up. "We're always working to improve our technology. We learn from our mistakes and find new ways to solve problems." "Interesting," Vexthal said. "Most species follow predictable patterns of development, but humans seem to be different." Amy Carter had been quiet during the meal. Now she spoke. "Can you tell us about the other species you've met? Are we likely to encounter them?" Vexthal's smile became wider. "Oh, you will definitely encounter them, very soon, in fact." The way he said this made Jake's skin crawl. He looked around the room and noticed something disturbing. There were no exits except the way they came in. The transparent ceiling was too high to reach, and the aliens were watching them more carefully. "Now, I would like to show you something," Vexthal said. He waved his hand and the walls became transparent. Outside, Jake could see into other parts of the ship. What he saw made him sick. There were rooms filled with glass containers. Inside the containers were creatures from dozens of different planets. Some were still alive, floating in strange liquids. Others were frozen or preserved in some other way. "This is our collection," Vexthel said proudly. "Representatives from every intelligent species we have encountered. They help us understand the galaxy's diversity." "They're prisoners," Amy said, her voice shaking with anger. "No," Vexthel said. "They are specimens. Very valuable specimens. Each one teaches us about their species' strengths and weaknesses." Jake felt his heart racing. "What happened to the rest of their people?" "That depends on the species," Vexthel said calmly. "Some joined our empire willingly, others required more persuasion." Lisa Park stood up from the table. "You're talking about conquest, about destroying entire civilizations." "We prefer to think of it as organization," Vexthel said. "The galaxy is chaotic. We bring order. We study each species, learn their capabilities, and then decide their fate." Now Jake understood the trap. The aliens didn't want to be friends with humanity. They wanted to study humans, learn their weaknesses, and then either conquer or destroy them. "And what fate do you have planned for humanity?" Jake asked. Vexthel's smile became even wider. "That depends on what we learn from you. Some species are useful as workers. Others are better as soldiers. A few are only good for study." Jake looked at his team. They all understood the situation now. They were not guests. They were prisoners. And somewhere below them in those glass containers were the representatives of 12 other species that had made the same mistake. "I think we should return to our ship now," Jake said, standing up. "Oh, but you just arrived," Vexthel said. "We have so much more to show you, so much more to learn." Two large aliens moved to block the doorway. They were bigger than Vexthel, with thick arms and no expressions on their faces. Jake realized they were guards. "I'm afraid your ship is being examined," Vexthel continued. "Our technicians are very curious about human engineering. They want to understand how such a primitive species can build functional spacecraft." Kate Sullivan touched her communication device. "I can't reach Earth," she whispered. "Something is blocking our signals." "Yes," Vexthel said, hearing her. "We cannot allow you to contact your homeworld. Not yet. First, we must complete our studies." Ben Collins looked around the room. "The air feels different, thicker, very observant," Vexthel said. "We have added some chemicals to help you relax. Nothing harmful, of course. We simply want you to be comfortable during your stay." Jake felt his mind becoming fuzzy. The aliens were drugging them. He tried to stand, but his legs felt weak. Around him, his team was having the same problem. "Don't worry," Vexthel said as Jake sank back into his chair. "You will be very comfortable in your new home. We have prepared special quarters for you. Very secure quarters." The last thing Jake saw before everything went black was Vexthel's cold smile and the glass containers filled with the remains of other species who had trusted the wrong aliens. Jake Morrison woke up with a terrible headache. The room was small and white with no windows and only one door. The walls felt cold when he touched them. His team was lying on the floor around him, still unconscious from the alien drugs. "Amy, wake up," Jake whispered, shaking her shoulder gently. "We need to move." Amy Carter opened her eyes slowly. She looked confused and sick. "Where are we?" "Prison," Jake said simply. "The aliens locked us up." One by one, the others woke up. Lisa Park held her head and groaned. Ben Collins checked his pockets and found that all their weapons were gone. Kate Sullivan tried her communication device, but it was dead. "They took everything," Ryan Torres said angrily. "All our equipment, all our weapons." Jake looked around the room carefully. The door had no handle on their side. The walls were smooth with no cracks or weak spots, but Jake had been in prisons before. There was always a way out if you were smart enough to find it. "Ben, look at this room," Jake said. "What do you see?" Ben Collins was the best engineer Jake knew. He could find problems in any machine or building. Ben walked around the room, touching the walls and floor. The walls are made of some kind of metal, Ben sighed. But look at the ceiling, it's different, softer material. And there's a small gap around the edges. Jake looked up. Ben was right. The ceiling looked like it was made of plastic or something similar. Can we break through it? Maybe, Ben said. But we need tools, and we need to be quiet. Amy Carter was studying the door. This door opens automatically when someone approaches from the outside. I can hear motors when the guards walk by. How do you know that? Lisa asked. I've been listening. Amy said, the guards check on us every 2 hours. They always stop at the same distance from the door. The door opens, they look inside, then they leave. Jake smiled. Amy was smart. She had been watching and learning even while she was scared. What else did you notice? Jake asked. The guards are different from Vexthal, Amy said. They're bigger and stronger, but they seem dumb, like they just follow orders without thinking. This gave Jake an idea. Ryan, when you were in the army, did you ever fight enemies who were stronger than you? Ryan Torres nodded. Many times. The trick is not to fight them the way they expect. Strong enemies usually expect you to be strong too. When you're weak and fast instead, they get confused. Exactly, Jake said. These aliens have better technology than us. They're stronger than us, but they think in straight lines. They expect us to act like all the other species they've captured. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Jake sat down in the center of the room. Think about it. They've captured 12 other species. All of those species probably tried to escape the same way. They'd probably tried to fight the guards or break down the door. The aliens are ready for that. So what do we do differently? Ben asked. Jake pointed to the ceiling. We don't try to escape. We make them think we're helpless and stupid. Then we surprise them. Over the next few hours, Jake explained his plan. When the guards came to check on them, the team would act scared and confused. They would beg for food and water. They would cry and complain. They would make the aliens think. Humans were weak and emotional, but while they were acting helpless, they would be preparing. Ben found a way to loosen one of the ceiling panels using the metal buttons from their uniforms. Amy discovered that the automatic door had a sensor that could be fooled. Kate learned the guard's schedule by listening to their footsteps. The key is patience, Jake told his team. We have to wait for the right moment, and we have to work together. Dr. Paul Henderson had been quiet since they woke up. Now he spoke. Jake, I've been thinking about what Vexthal said, about how humans are different from other species. What about it? He said we don't follow predictable patterns, Paul continued. That worried him. I think it's because most aliens think logically, they do what makes sense. But humans do crazy things sometimes. Crazy things like what? Amy asked. Like risking your life to save a stranger, Paul said. Like fighting when, you can't win. Like trusting people you just met. Most aliens probably can't understand that. Jake understood what Paul was saying, so our unpredictability is a weapon. Exactly, Paul said. They can't predict what we'll do because we don't always do what makes sense. This gave Jake another idea. Ryan, what if we don't just escape? What if we do something they'll never expect? Like what? Like hunting them, Jake said quietly. The room became silent. Everyone stared at Jake. Think about it, Jake continued. They expect us to run away. They expect us to try to get back to our ship. They don't expect us to go deeper into their ship and attack them. Lisa Park shook her head. Jake, that's suicide. There are thousands of aliens on this ship. We're just 6 people with no weapons. That's what makes it perfect, Jake said. They won't be ready for it. And we don't need to fight all of them. We just need to cause enough trouble to give us an advantage. Ben Collins was thinking hard. If we could get to their main computer system, I might be able to cause some damage. These aliens rely on their technology for everything. If we can disrupt their systems, they'll be confused and helpless. But how do we get weapons? Ryan asked. Amy Carter smiled for the first time since they were captured. We make them. Ryan, you taught us that humans survive for thousands of years with simple tools. We can make weapons from anything? She picked up a piece of metal from the floor. It was sharp on one edge. Knife, she said. Then she took the cord from her uniform, strangling wire. She pointed to the ceiling panel Ben had loosened. Shield or club? Jake felt pride in his team. They were thinking like humans now. Not like the logical aliens, but like the creative, dangerous species that had conquered an entire planet. There's something else, Kate Sullivan said. I've been listening to the aliens when they talk outside our door. They speak in patterns, very formal, very predictable. I think I can mimic their speech well enough to fool their computers. You mean you can pretend to be them? Jake asked. For a short time, yes, Kate said. Their voice recognition systems are designed to understand their formal language. If I speak the right way, I might be able to trick their machines. Jake looked at each member of his team. They were scared, but they were also angry, and angry humans were dangerous humans. All right, Jake said. Here's what we're going to do. We wait until the next guard check. We act scared and stupid. When they leave, we start preparing. Ben, you work on the ceiling. Amy, you and Paul make weapons from whatever you can find. Kate, you practice their speech patterns. Ryan, you help me plan our attack route. What about me? Lisa asked. You're our scientist, Jake said. You study everything we learn about these aliens, their weaknesses, their habits, their technology. When we attack, you'll be the one who tells us how to hurt them most. For the next several hours, the team worked quietly. They took turns sleeping. So someone was always listening for guards. They made weapons from pieces of metal, plastic, and cloth. They studied the ship's layout by listening to sounds from other parts of the vessel. Most importantly, they changed their thinking. They stopped acting like victims and started acting like predators. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought humans were just another species to collect and study. They were about to learn that humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not because they were strong or smart, but because they refused to give up. And when humans refused to give up, they became something that no alien species had ever faced before. They became hunters. The guard walked past their door at exactly the same time as always. Jake Morrison counted the footsteps until they faded away. 2 hours until the next check. It was time to move. Everyone ready? Jake whispered. His team nodded. They had been preparing for this moment for 3 days. Ben Collins had quietly loosened the ceiling panel. Amy Carter had made sharp weapons from pieces of metal and plastic. Kate Sullivan had practiced alien speech patterns until she sounded almost like them. Ryan Torres had mapped out their attack plan using sounds from the ship's corridors. Remember, Jake said quietly, we're not trying to escape. We're hunting. We go in, cause chaos, and make them afraid of us. Ben pushed up on the ceiling panel. It moved silently. The space above was dark and narrow, but big enough for a person to crawl through. Ben went first, then helped pull the others. Up the space between floors was filled with pipes and cables. It was hot and smelled like burned metal. But it was also perfect for moving around the ship without being seen. Amy Carter pointed to a cluster of thick cables. Those look important, she whispered. Ben examined them carefully. Power cables. If we cut these, we can shut down lights and security systems in whole sections of the ship. Not yet, Jake said. First, we need to get to their computer center. Then we cause all the trouble at once. They crawled through the narrow space for what felt like hours. The ship was enormous, and they had to move slowly to avoid making noise. Kate Sullivan led the way, following the sound of alien voices to find the most important areas. Finally, they reached a section where they could hear many aliens talking below. Kate listened carefully, then turned to Jake. This is it, she whispered. The main control center. I can hear at least 20 aliens down there. Jake looked through a small gap in the floor. Below, he could see dozens of aliens working at computer stations. The room was huge, with screens showing star maps and other ships. In the center was a raised platform where Vexthal stood, giving orders. Ben, can you access their computers from here? Jake asked. Ben studied the cables and wires around them. Yes, but I need time, maybe 10 minutes. We'll give you time, Jake said. He turned to Ryan Torres. You know what to do. Ryan nodded. He and Amy Carter moved to different parts of the ceiling, carrying their improvised weapons. They would drop down at the same time from different directions, causing confusion. Kate, you're with me, Jake said. When the chaos starts, you need to get to their communication system. Send a message. To Earth. What kind of message? Kate asked. Tell them about the aliens. Tell them we're fighting back. And tell them to be ready for war. Jake looked at his team one more time. They were scared, but they were also determined. In a few minutes, they would either be heroes or dead. But they would not be prisoners anymore. Paul, Lisa, you stay here. With Ben, Jake said. Help him with the computers. If something goes wrong, you're our backup plan. Dr. Paul Henderson had been working on something while they crawled through the ship. He held up a small device made from pieces of their equipment. This is a virus, he said. Not a biological virus, but a computer virus. When Ben connects to their system, this will spread to every computer on the ship. What will it do? Jake asked. It will make their computers think in human ways instead of alien ways, Paul explained. It will make them unpredictable and chaotic. Their logical systems won't be able to handle it, Jake smiled. Even as prisoners, humans were being creative and dangerous. All right, Jake said. Let's show these aliens what happens when they try to collect humans. Ryan Torres dropped through the ceiling first. He landed on top of an alien computer operator, knocking him unconscious. Before the other aliens could react, Amy Carter dropped down on the other side of the room. The aliens were confused. They had never seen anything like this before. Their security systems were designed to stop people from coming through doors, not falling from the ceiling. Intruders! One alien shouted. How did they get in here? Amy Carter moved like a dancer, fast and unpredictable. She had trained in martial arts before joining the military. The aliens were stronger than her, but they were also slower and more clumsy. She struck at nerve points and joints, places where even strong aliens were vulnerable. Ryan Torres fought like a soldier. He used his improvised weapons to disable alien equipment while fighting off guards. Every move was calculated to cause maximum damage and confusion. In the chaos, Jake and Kate dropped down near the communication station. Kate immediately began working on the alien computers, using her practice speech patterns to fool the voice recognition systems. I'm in, Kate said. But I don't have long before they figure out what I'm doing. Jake stood guard while Kate worked. More aliens were coming into the room, but they were confused and disorganized. They kept getting in each other's way, trying to figure out what was happening. Above them, Ben Collins connected Paul's virus to the main computer system. The virus spread instantly, jumping from computer to computer faster than the aliens could. Stop it. Suddenly, the lights in the room began flashing in random patterns. Computer screens showed strange images and error messages. The aliens' orderly, logical systems were becoming chaotic and unpredictable. What's happening? Vexthal shouted. Stop this madness, but his own guards were having problems. Their weapons wouldn't fire properly. Their communication devices were sending mixed signals. Their computer systems were showing them false information. This is Kate Sullivan of the human vessel Aurora, Kate spoke into the communication system. We are under attack by hostile aliens, called the Zephyrian Empire. They have captured and killed representatives from at least 12 other species. Earth must prepare for war immediately. Her message was transmitted across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. On Earth, military leaders would receive it within hours. Vexthal finally understood what was happening. They're not trying to escape, he said with horror in his voice. They're attacking us. Jake smiled as he heard this. That's right, he said loudly. We're not your specimens. We're your worst nightmare. Amy Carter had reached the power control station. She began shutting down systems throughout the ship. Life support stayed on, but lights, security systems, and weapons began failing. The aliens were panicking now. Their logical minds couldn't handle the chaos. They had never faced an enemy that acted this way before. "Seal the room," Vexthal ordered. "Don't let them escape." But Jake didn't want to escape. He wanted to send a message. He grabbed an alien communicator and spoke into it so the whole ship could hear. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of Earth," he said. "You made a mistake when you tried to collect humans. We're not like the other species you've captured. We don't give up, we don't surrender, and we don't forget." Ben Collins finished his work above. The virus had spread to every computer on the ship. The aliens' advanced technology was now working against them. "And here's something else you should know about humans," Jake continued. "We're really good at making friends. Every species you've captured and killed had families, friends, and allies. When Earth tells them what you've done, they're going to be very angry." This was Jake's greatest weapon. Not violence or technology, but the truth. The aliens had been hiding their crimes for years. Now the whole galaxy would know what they were really like. Vexthal looked around his chaotic control room. His perfect systems were failing. His logical plans were falling apart. And 6 primitive humans were destroying his entire operation. "How?" he whispered. "How are you doing this?" Jake looked at the alien leader with cold eyes. "Because we're human, and humans never stop fighting." The trap had been sprung, but it wasn't the aliens' trap anymore. It was humanity's trap. And the hunters had become the hunted. The Sovereign's edge was dying around them. Lights flickered on and off. Alien computers screamed with error messages. In the corridors, Zephyrin guards ran back and forth, confused and scared. Their perfect ship had become a nightmare. Jake Morrison stood in the center of the control room, watching Vexthal try to fix his broken systems. The alien leader's hands shook as he typed commands that didn't work. His logical mind couldn't understand what was happening to his ship. "You've destroyed everything," Vexthal said, his voice full of anger and fear. "Centuries of work ruined by primitives." "We haven't even started yet," Jake replied calmly. Ben Collins climbed down from the ceiling, grinning. "The virus is in every system now. Their whole fleet is having problems. Ships are losing power, weapons won't fire, and their navigation systems are showing them false positions." Kate Sullivan looked up from the communications station. "I'm receiving responses from Earth. Admiral Susan Wright is mobilizing the entire fleet. They'll be here in 6 hours? 6 hours?" Vexthal laughed bitterly. "We can repair our systems in 2 hours. Your primitive fleet will arrive to find nothing but wreckage." Amy Carter walked over to Vexthal, holding a sharp piece of metal. "You're not listening. We didn't just break your computers, we changed them. Every repair you make will create 2 new problems. Every solution will cause more chaos." Dr. Paul Henderson had been studying the alien computers while the fighting continued. Now he spoke up. "The virus doesn't just disrupt their systems, it teaches them to think like humans. Random, creative, unpredictable, their logical programming can't handle it." Vexthal stared at Paul with horror. "You've infected our machines." "With your chaotic thinking?" "Exactly," Paul said with a smile. "Your computers are learning to be human. And humans never do what you expect them to do." Ryan Torres had been watching the doors, but no more guards were coming. The aliens were too busy dealing with emergencies throughout their ship. "Jake, we need to talk about the other prisoners." "The ones in those glass containers," Jake nodded. He had been thinking about the captured representatives from 12 other species. "Can we free them?" "Some of them are still alive," Amy said. "I can hear their life support systems from here, but I don't know if they can survive outside the containers." Lisa Park had been quiet during the fight, but now she stepped forward. "I've been studying their preservation technology. Some of the prisoners have been frozen for years, but others are just sleeping. We can wake them up." "Do it," Jake ordered. "Every species the aliens captured deserves to see their captors defeated." Lisa and Amy left to find the prison levels. Jake turned back to Vexthal, who was still trying to repair his systems. "You want to know how we did this?" Jake asked. "How?" 6 humans destroyed your entire operation?" Vexthal looked up, his black eyes full of hatred. "Tell me, we did exactly what you didn't expect. Jake said. You thought we would try to escape. Instead, we attacked. You thought we would act logically. Instead, we acted human. Humans are chaotic and unpredictable, Vexthal said. That's what makes you dangerous. No, Jake said. What makes us dangerous is that we never stop learning. Every species you captured taught us something about fighting you. The small furry creatures taught us to move quietly. The tall blue ones taught us about your computer systems. The rock-like beings taught us about your power sources. Vexthal's face went pale. You couldn't have learned from them. They've been dead for years. Their ships aren't dead, Ben Collins said, returning from another part of the control room. Your people kept detailed records of every species you captured. We've been reading those records for hours, learning everything about your victims. Jake smiled as he saw understanding dawn in Vexthal's eyes. That's right, you didn't just capture those species. You gave us a library of how to fight you. Every weakness, every mistake, every failure was recorded in your computers. Kate Sullivan called out from the communication station. Jake, I'm getting reports from across the galaxy. Other species are receiving our message. They're organizing fleets to come here. How many? Jake asked. All of them, Kate said with amazement. Every species that ever lost people to the Zephyrians. They're all coming. Vexthal sank into his command chair. This is impossible. Those species are scattered across the galaxy. They don't even know each other exists. They do now, Jake said. That's another thing about humans. We're really good at bringing people together against common enemies. The ship shuddered as explosions echoed through the corridors. Amy Carter's voice came over the communication system. Jake, we're freeing the prisoners. Some of them are very angry when they wake up. Through the transparent walls, Jake could see aliens running in panic as freed prisoners hunted them through the corridors. The Zephyrians had kept representatives from warrior species, peaceful species, and everything in between. Now they were all united by one thing, hatred for their captors. Your empire is finished, Jake told Vexthal. Word is spreading to every corner of the galaxy. Everyone will know what you really are. We brought order to chaos, Vexthal said desperately. We studied species to understand them better. You murdered entire civilizations, Ryan Torres said angrily. You destroyed billions of lives. Dr. Paul Henderson looked up from an alien computer. Jake, I've found something interesting. The Zephyrians aren't the real threat. They're working for someone else. What do you mean? Jake asked. These records mention something called the Collective, Paul explained. A group of ancient species that used the Zephyrians to gather information about younger civilizations. The Zephyrians are just tools. Vexthal's eyes went wide with fear. You don't understand. We had to do this. The Collective would have destroyed us if we refused. So you destroyed others instead, Jake said coldly. That doesn't make you victims. That makes you cowards. The ship shuddered again as more systems failed. Through the windows, Jake could see other Zephyrian ships in the distance. They were having the same problems, their crews struggling with chaos they couldn't understand. Admiral Wright's fleet just arrived, Kate announced. 20 ships, all armed with our newest weapons. Tell her to be careful, Jake said. There are innocent prisoners on these ships. Already done, Kate replied. She's broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies. But Jake wasn't interested in Zephyrian surrender. He was thinking about the Collective. If there were more powerful enemies out there, humanity needed to be ready. Paul, copy everything from their computers, Jake ordered. Every record, every star map, every piece of information about the Collective. Already working on it, Paul said. Amy Carter and Lisa Park returned with a group of freed aliens. They were different species, but they all looked at the defeated Zephyrians with the same expression, justice. What should we do with them? Amy asked, pointing to Vexthal and his remaining crew. Jake thought about this carefully. The humans could kill the Zephyrians, but that would make them no better than their captors. Instead, Jake had a better idea. We're going to do something the Zephyrians never expected, Jake said. We're going to give them a choice. He walked over to Vexthal. You can face trial by the species you've wronged. Or you can help us fight the collective. Why would you trust us? Vexthal asked. We don't trust you, Jake said. But we believe in redemption. Prove that you're more than just tools of the collective. Vexthal looked around at his broken ship, his defeated crew, and the freed prisoners who wanted revenge. Then he looked at Jake Morrison, the human who had destroyed his empire, but was offering him a chance to earn forgiveness. What do you want? Me to do? Vexthal asked quietly. Jake smiled. Help us turn the hunters into the hunted. The collective thinks they control the galaxy. Let's show them what happens when they mess with species who refuse to give up. The war was over, but the real fight was just beginning. Humanity had proven that no trap was perfect, no plan was unbreakable, and no enemy was undefeatable. The galaxy had a new protector, and the collective was about to learn why underestimating humans was the most dangerous mistake anyone could make. In the end, today's horrifying human trap had caught more than just the Zephyrians. It had caught the attention of the entire galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same again.